House Republicans will vote to send a resolution to impeach President Biden to the Homeland Security and Judiciary Committees. The resolution charges Biden with high crimes and misdemeanors over his handling of the southern border. It was introduced by Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She had wanted to hold an immediate, but Speaker Kevin McCarthy urged her to go through the committees that are investigating the president. Speaking to reporters yesterday, he compared Republican efforts to impeach Biden to Democrats who he said rushed to impeach Donald Trump.
That's why I don't want to do anything that harms the investigation we're going through right now. And I think to prematurely bring something up like that, to have no background in it, it undercuts what we're doing in Comer's committee. We're finding something new every single day, what we're doing in Jim Jordan's committee as well. Look, this is probably one of the most important things members of Congress has a right to do, and to take it in a flippant way, to just put something privileged on the floor like that. We're going to censure Adam Schiff for taking us through impeachment and lying to the American public, and you want to turn around the next day and do the same thing.
Joining us now, communications strategist and former aide to House Speakers Ryan and Boehner, Brendan Buck. He is an MSNBC political analyst and familiar with the doings of the Republicans in the House. So, Brendan, let's just start right there. Are they going to impeach President Biden?
It certainly feels like it at some point, or at least they'll have that vote at some point. This is, I feel for Kevin McCarthy there. I mean, a not insignificant part of the job of being Republican Speaker is stopping your members from doing something politically dumb. And that's clearly what's going on here. But the reality is House members are losing patience with a lot of these investigations, and that's because they rushed out right after the election and said that pretty plainly that Joe Biden is part of some corruption deal with his son. In fact, Jim Jordan and James Comer, those two party chairmen, came out and said they have direct evidence that Joe Biden was a part of some schemes with overseas dealings. And of course, 6 months later, we've not seen any of that. And so at some point, your members get tired, they lose patience, and they want to see some action. And that's what came to head with Lauren Boebert. For now, Kevin McCarthy has put that to bed. But I would be very surprised if that does not bring itself back up at some point in the not too distant future.
So you use the phrase politically dumb. I think that's appropriate here. So let's say they go through with this in the weeks or months ahead. How do you see that playing out, within the Republican base, but also with a general electorate as we head to 2024?
It's the thing that Joe Biden has going for him probably more than anything is a House Republican conference that he can contrast with that simply can't stop themselves from overreaching. It's not a novel concept. I mean, Barack Obama used a contrast with House Republicans to get himself reelected. Bill Clinton contrasted himself with Newt Gingrich to get himself reelected. If Joe Biden takes advantage here, he can absolutely score some political points because House Republicans tend to look unserious when they do things like this. Look at Adam Schiff, just censured on the floor, is raising all kinds of money, taking advantage of the fact that House Republicans are targeting him. So, yeah, this is could be a big gift to Joe Biden, but it's a pretty serious thing. As Kevin McCarthy said there, the impeachment power is enormous. And for it to become trivialized and just a thing that every Congress does to the opposing president, I think would be really damaging. But at the same time, big upside for Joe Biden.
I mean, I completely agree. It's historic and rare. We know the only handful of times it's been used. It would be bad for the country if it became a thing that happened. So, Brendan, as president who was impeached twice is Donald Trump. He's obviously in a lot of legal hot water right now. We saw a poll yesterday that showed his support has slipped a little among Republicans in the wake of his federal arraignment. He's still far and away the front runner, but a little bit of a drop, 6 or so points. What's your read on that?
Yeah, I'd like to see some more data before coming to a conclusion that he is actually slipping too much. I think it's important to appreciate he still has an enormous lead in that poll. It is not as though he is cratered by any means. And we've seen lots of polls that have shown his support remaining strong. I think the takeaway here is perhaps there is an opening, but his fellow competitors for the nomination need to take advantage of it. Just letting him sit there and defend himself and defending him, frankly, is not going to do anything to hurt his poll number. So if there's an opening, I think some of his fellow campaigners should take it. but I'd like to see a little more hard data before I conclude that he's actually in any real trouble.
Yeah, agreed. It is just one poll. We should note, though, in that poll, Haley and Pence up a little, but Ron DeSantis stayed flat, still 30-odd points behind Trump. Brandon Buck, thank you as always. Great to talk to you. We will again soon.